Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
I'm Neil, and who thinks he's so special because he puts out fires in the wilderness?
That would be David. We're recording on a Tuesday, which is a couple of days later than we normally record, because we're waiting to see if David could join us, but he keeps getting called out on fires. So, whatever. People of Utah, control your stuff.
Rake the forest,
Yes.
David.
Mm-hmm.
Rake the forest. Then it's all over with. We don't have to worry about this anymore.
Put some mirrors out there to deflect the space lasers that are coming down to ignite the fires.
Space lasers.
So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We've been talking about it, and over the past couple of episodes, we're going to do a just general special talking about slasher movies and why we love them. Some of the good, some of the bad, the meaning they have in our lives, and just have a good fun conversation about all the slashers. Kind of a focus on 1981, and then we're going to talk about it and just go over it. What is our favorite slashers and things like that. Just have fun. Do a little bit of a different episode for spooky season, and try to just get us out of the normal, regular, hey, let's review a movie with lots of digressions, because this one's going to be pretty much all digressions.
All digressions all the time.
All digressions all the time. But yeah, that should be fun. I've been reading a lot about slasher movies, watching a lot of movie trailers, watching a lot of movies, and just kind of I bought the book Men, Women, and Chainsaws, which is one of the more analytical looks about the slasher movie. I read about one chapter, and then I've been busy, so I haven't really got to dive into it as much as I would like. But it is one of those more famous books, kind of analyzing the genre and all the tropes and things like that are the part of the genre. But yeah, but let's do what we always do before we jump into that. Neil, what did you watch this week?
Well, I kept talking about it, and I finally jumped on, and I watched Salem's Lot.
The new one?
The new one.
What'd you think?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. I really wish they'd have spent a little more time with the vampire, because he looked great.
Mm-hmm.
Super menacing, but it is what it is. I did like that the kid just didn't give a shit. The kid just went in and just messed stuff up.
Yeah, he was like totally focused on killing the vampire and avenging his friend and doing everything. And it looked really, really good. Like you said, the head vampire, Mr. Barlow, looked really, really good. And it was fun. It was a very truncated version of the story, but it was good. Enjoyed it.
I really liked it. I thought I like that sort of Nosferatu look in a vampire.
Yeah. I like when the vampire's like a killer monster, not like the suave, good-looking kind of guy. I want him to be kind of a feral beast. That's kind of I like about the Bram Stoker's Dracula with the Coppola, is that underneath everything, he is that. He's just kind of have a facade of looking cool, but when he goes to shit, he looks awful, like an old man, or like when he's crying, his eye looks all fucked up, and he can turn into a big bat or a big wolf. That part is pretty cool to me.
Did you ever watch Last Voyage of the Demeter?
No, I wanted to. I still have not seen that yet. I have been looking at everything that is coming to streaming for October, and there is, every streaming service is stacking up on the horror movies, and it's just the best time of the year to watch movies. Just the most wonderful time of the year.
No, Bankin and Rass. Oh my God.
Rankin and Bass.
Rankin and Bass. Thank you. Wow. That was fun to juxtapose. You don't, no Island of the Misfit Toys, no Heat Miser. You're like, nope, I need axes and pitchforks in the shower.
There was that one Rankin and Bass horror one called Mad Monster Party.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun. It was kind of very 60s, and they had like these mod mummies playing like the Beatles, in the little haircuts and stuff. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Probably hasn't dated well, but I enjoyed it as a kid.
I think I barely remember that one, but I remember the other ones, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all that, and that was always on constantly.
Remember the one with it was Here Comes Peter Cottontail, I think, and there was the one rabbit, the evil Vincent Price rabbit had like the iron tail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God, we had some really jacked up stuff in the 70s.
Well, I send my older sister lots of clips from those TV shows, and I send her one of the fembots from $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman and how fucking scary they were, because you would knock their faces off and there would just be like those eyes and like a little speaker box for the mouth and like, typical little bit of like circuitry and stuff like that. But they were scary as shit. Shit. And then there was one I watched one of Battlestar Galactica where there was Baltar, I guess was the name of the bad guy, but he had one kind of like robot guy called Lucifer. Mm-hmm. And he had like a clear head
with the lights going around in it.
And
he had the weird look on his face. Mm-hmm. Dude, I loved that show. I had the Colonial Viper. Mm-hmm. I had the Cylon Raider. Mm. I think I even saved up like cereal tops to get like a cardboard Colonial Viper cockpit.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And you kind of built it, put all the tabs in and taped it. Mm-hmm. And you had they look like Colonial credits that had like missions and stuff you could fly. You remember when they pressed the turbo, whatever it was on the stick, and then they would slam their heads back?
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
I did geek out. I have looked at Colonial Viper pilot helmets.
Oh, those are sweet.
At least, well, I've been looking at files because I'm like, you know what? I've got like 1 million 3D printers. I could make myself one. But what would I do with it?
Just to have it.
I would walk around looking virginal. That's what I would walk around.
Yes. I have a great Mazinger that I just came in, and Jamie ordered me another one. It's like this. There's 2 different versions of him. I'm getting another one this week, so they're just I have them.
The Great Mazinger and the OK Mazinger.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mazinger Z.
I'm trying to cut down on stuff like that after Dad died and trying to par the house down, and Mom moved into a smaller place. Just like all of the stuff. And how she just she just desperately clings to everything. Where's this? Where's this? And it's like, it's literally a box that I had seen at their house for like over a decade that had never been opened and never moved. And I got rid of it. I was making executive decisions. So when I see stuff like that, I'm like, I would really like to have that. Part of me is like, do I really want my child to have to be the one to figure out how to throw this away later?
Well, I don't have like a China hutch and China and like silverware and other kind of shit like that. I got cool shit.
I've got things I can play with. I can set them up. I can have battles.
I got toys and vinyl records and horror memorabilia, Blu-rays.
Yeah, I'm sure Andrew's going to be he's going to be so happy with that. The family's going to come over and he's like, all right, we're going to spend the next 7 days packing up Dad's Blu-rays and DVDs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to get a nickel each of them at Entertainment or something.
Yeah. What was a DVD, Dad? It's just an old thing your grandpa wouldn't let go of.
Don't get rid of my signed Eraserhead box set.
What should we do with Grandpa's computer? Don't open that up. Don't open that up. Don't check.
Yes.
Got to be a homie, and erase Grandpa's browsing history. I'm thinking of Homer because when I think about toys, I remember when we first were like living with Jamie. I think you sent me a picture, and you had like all of the Simpsons toys. You had all of them. You had them set up behind you. And I remember I saw the picture. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Look how happy those two look. And then you look in the background like, fucking nerd.
Married nerd. So yeah.
Married nerd. That's okay, man. I got rid of all my my geese. Every single one is gone. Getting rid of, from Kenjutsu, I'm getting rid of all my practice swords. I'm getting rid of all that stuff. Now I just have my geeky set of bagpipes. That's it.
Nice. We all have, our geeky things that we enjoy, like the podcast.
Well, I mean, we enjoy, and at least 4
Yes.
people.
A few people enjoy, yeah.
So what year did we want to talk about here?
1981, but it's slashers in general. But I will say, since you're not feeding me the line, what I watched this week.
I was trying to go all the way around it. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Wait, you're not feeding me and asking me, what did I watch this week? I watched The Ring. For some reason, it's on MGM Plus all the time. Still good, still fun. Still, I think the best part is when they show the girl's face in the closet, how jacked up she is. That was still a lot of fun. Really good cinematography, really good kind of setting and mood, and just creepy imagery all the way around. But VHS tapes, people are like, a haunted VHS tape seems so quaint nowadays. But then I watched Thanksgiving, the slasher movie Thanksgiving, which I love. That is really, really good slasher movie. It is just fun and dumb and just gory as hell. It's got a nice little whodunit, which a lot of slasher movies have. And I think it's on like Peacock right now or Amazon Prime, one of those. But it's worth watching. It's super fun to check out. Maybe it was Hulu. I don't know. Streaming. Some streaming service has it right now.
It's streaming.
Yeah, it's streaming. Thanksgiving. But if you haven't seen that one, it's worth checking out. I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Retro Video Store slasher movie special.
I had no idea we had talked about this many horror movies when you put the numbers up.
Yeah, we've done 250 episodes of this, or 252 around there episodes of the Retro Video Store. 100 of those have been horror movies. So, yeah. But 10 horror movies have been from 1981, but 17 total out of our 252 movies are from 1981 as well. So 1981 is kind of a banner year for movies that kind of hit us in that zone. You were what, 9 in 81?
81, 9, yeah, getting ready to turn 10. But like 100 horror movies out of 250, like 252, something like this. And I was looking at it, I'm like, geez, this is quite a bit. There's people are looking like, okay, it's the Retro Video Store. They're going to talk about all these different retro video movies, and then realize, no, this was our video store experience. Is specifically, this is the kind of shit we would rent and watch.
Yeah, totally. And this reminds me, I was looking a little bit about the first rental store. And one of the oldest ones came out in 1975, where a guy named Eckhard Baum in Germany, he had a bunch of Super 8 films, and he would lend them, and then wound up started renting them. And then, it's still, as of 2023, still operates his rental store in Germany. So that is like the first rental store of all. But the first professionally managed video rental store was in Los Angeles in 1977. This guy started Magnetic Video, and it had basically 50 titles from 20th Century Fox. And then he just started running those out. And 1975, Sony released the first commercially available video recorder. And all from there, it started. The 80s, of course, in 1982, that was the first time people rented video games. So you could rent crappy E.T. from Atari, or Asteroids or something from the video store.
I think I rented a game console one time, but really only once. Never rented a VCR. When do you remember getting your first VCR? I remember really, really specifically because we had just moved. We had moved on Highway 6700. So that's probably fifth, maybe sixth grade. And that's when we got our first VCR. And I was the only one who paid attention on how to set the clock and how to set it to record.
Hey, same here, man. I was the first one to know how to do that. Our first VCR was a Curtis Mathis VCR. There was Curtis Mathis sold like high-end or sell TVs and stuff like that. And there was a little store, and my mom went and spent probably a considerable amount of money on the Curtis Mathes VCR. And it wasn't a top loader, it was a front loader.
Oh,
And
fancy. Oh, I
yeah,
had cable. I had a front loader.
it was a front loader, and that thing lasted us for a long time, but it was very kind of like an industrial, almost kind of silver brownish color. And it had little buttons on the bottom that you could tune in for your TV, over the air, and you had to select them and figure out how to tune them, and then you had turned a little dial to set the clock. And we watched that a lot, and we rented tons of movies. But I remember renting, before we had that, I remember going to the movie barn or something and renting a VCR for the first time. My dad rented a VCR, and then we rented like 5 movies, a couple of horror, a couple of action, and then some sort of drama or something like that. And then we popped a bunch of popcorn, and then we just watched these movies. And I thought, oh my God, only rich people can have a VCR.
Not realizing how we grew up.
Yes.
I vaguely remember when I was very young, my dad doing that, and we I don't even remember what we watched, but I think the thing that my dad was really super stoked about, and my mom, was recording TV shows.
Yes.
Was just recording the shows, and man, you had to mark on there like what was on it. You had to get the sticker out. You had to write what was on it. You had to keep it in the sleeve, and had to set that thing because my mom was into watching Days of Our Lives at that point. And I mean, we had stacks and stacks of cassettes of Days of Our Lives. I remember asking my mom, like, can we record over these? No, you can't record over that. What if I want to watch that again? She never did, but tons of Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, and VHS tapes were expensive considering it. And the first one, we bought a VCR, and I think it came with one Polaroid T120 VHS tape. And I think we recorded some stuff off of HBO or something, and then probably boxing or something. And we kept that. And, gradually we had one of those wood TV consoles that you put the TV in, had the VCR underneath, and it had a drawer that was just filled with VHS tapes. And it was just everything. I remember I would record The Simpsons every week, and heavy, which of the ones that we had, like Catherine had her own VHS tape, and I had my own at the beginning when we were young. And I always record stuff off MTV. I'd record.
For the viewers at home, Catherine is Eric's older sister.
Yes, okay. Older sister Catherine. We would record like tons of stuff off of MTV, like the Thriller video premiere.
Friday night videos.
Yes, Friday night videos.
NBC was recording Friday night videos. We watched those on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you got really pissed off, and you started thinking like, okay, I've got to set this to 5 minutes before 10 o'clock, and I got to set this to go off 5 minutes after 11 o'clock.
Exactly. Yes.
Because I'm going to start missing things.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. That was life back in the 80s, the primitive 80s, where you had to manually set your VCR. But when I included a picture, I mean, you guys can't see it, I'll probably post it on Instagram, of this perfect VHS horror movie section of a video store. And these wire racks full of VHS tapes of horror movies. You see Freddy's Dead, you see Alone in the Dark, you see Tales from the Crypt, you see, The Psychic, you see Amityville, you see all these things. And that was just the greatest experience. And we've talked about Bronco Video a lot on this podcast over the past few years, but Bronco Video in Kirtland, New Mexico, that was the place to get movies. And it was in the trailer.
And if we were going to watch them at your house, that was where we went to go get them.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm looking at these. I'm zooming in and looking at this. There's a Hellraiser poster. There's King Kong in the upper left. There's Maniac. And they've turned all of them around. I think some like Tales from the Crypt. They've got Reanimator, Mary Riley, Mutant, The Firestarter, Nightwing, Alone in the Dark. They had some great horror movies on this rack.
And that nice is where
rack.
I would
nice rack.
Nice rack.
This is a
nice
and
that
rack.
was the first place I ran to is to the horror section. And I remember in Farmington, there was I think it was called the Movie Barn, I think. And they had that Lucio Fulci's zombie poster where it's just the corpse, like skeleton-like corpse. And it says, "We are going to eat you." That always scared the shit out of me as a kid. I was like, oh, someday I'll see this movie. And I didn't see that movie until I was like 20, and it's a piece of crap. But no, I love it, but it's a piece of crap.
What was the holy grail for you? What was the one like forbidden thing that you were like, I'm never going to get to see this? That when you had a chance, you rented it and watched it, or tried to get a copy of it to watch, like with me, anybody that you're like, this is something we're not supposed to rent, something I shouldn't see. I'm not talking about the kind of movies, the kind of movies, the one that you had stashed
like Red
at your
Shoe
bed with
Diaries or
the
Night
magazine.
Eyes 3 or something.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like just a forbidden one that you just couldn't get. I know what mine was.
I think that I had heard a lot of hype about Evil Dead 2 just by reading like Fangoria and other magazines. And it came out in like 87, but I never saw a VHS of it ever until finally, out of all places in Kirtland, it was at the 7-Eleven. The one right on 550 back then, and County Road 64, 6400, 6500, whatever. It was just right there. That was the place we would get our nachos, our fried burritos, our Coke, buy cigarettes for our parents, and
get the big ass tube of popcorn, and then out the door.
Exactly. But they had Evil Dead 2 there. It's like, holy shit, I gotta rent this. And I signed up for I don't know how they let me sign up for membership. I think, I had a driver's license, I guess. So, and I took it home. And we put in Evil Dead 2, my older sister and I. As an
aside, in New Mexico, when we were kids, you could get a driver's license at 15, and you could get a full motorcycle license at 13, which is how I was always over at your house, because I had that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but definitely. All right, so because everyone's like, I finally had a driver's license. You were 16, jackass. But no, we were before that.
Yeah, you get your driver's license pretty young. So I signed up, got Evil Dead 2. My sister and I, my parents were gone for some reason. So my sister and I, let's watch Evil Dead 2. So we watched it. It blew us away. We immediately rewound it and watched it again. That was like the first time I ever said, holy shit, this movie's so good. Let's watch it again immediately. How about you, Neil? What was your movie?
My tastes back then tended to lean towards the more satanic and gore. There were a lot of like black metal like videos and things that I really wanted to get a hold of. So there was two of them. It was do you remember Venom?
Yes.
So it was a Venom concert, and it was horrible. Like just the video quality of that. And then recorded on that same tape was Faces of Death.
Oh, yeah. Faces of Death back in the day was like an urban legend. Like, oh man, have you seen Faces of Death? Have you seen that? Have you seen Faces of Death?
Look at this face. Look at this face, Eric. I've seen Faces of Death.
It's actually on Shudder, I think, right now. Or
really?
It's kind of funny where we later learn that it wasn't really a snuff film. There was some scenes where people actually died, but it was like in industrial settings and stuff, and a lot of the other stuff was staged. Like, this is cannibals and blah 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 or whatever. It was that stuff was staged, but there was some stuff intercut in there of like back in the day, there was movies called Mondo movies, like Mondo Cane, where they would show, look at these terrible tribes who are totally uncivilized and stuff like that. And they would show fake beheadings and cannibalism and all that kind of stuff like that. So Faces of Death was kind of just a branch off of that.
No, I was edgy, man. I was edgy. I saw Faces of Death. Don't be upset. Don't be upset that I had that. You had cable. I had that.
Yeah. But that was true, though. It was like a copy of a copy of a copy that went around, and your friend had it, and then it was just like kind of like back in the day when we were young, there was porno in the woods
that you would just randomly find. So bizarre.
Yes, porno magazines in the woods and the hills, and friends with duped copies of Faces of Death.
And then when you figured out that you could hook up to VCRs. And record movies.
Yes, just dubbing tapes left and right, renting a bunch of tapes and just recording them.
Or you get the dual cassette deck.
Yes,
on your boombox.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you have that album? Can I borrow it? No, I have that album too.
Yes, the most base form of piracy. putting putting a piece of tape on the bottom on the back of a VHS tape to record over it or whatever to get rid of the copyright protection or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was.
Oh, we broke the little tab. That little plastic tab that was between us and video freedom.
Yes. So video stores were very, very important, and slasher movies were very, very important. And I wrote this out. The slasher film is an enduring genre of horror movies, and there are many pre-slasher movies that influenced and shaped the tropes that are being used today. There was a movie called 13 Women in 1932 that had sorority sisters that were being manipulated or into killing themselves or killing each other by an unseen figure who would mark out their faces in their yearbook, which is something that was used in Prom Night, but that was all the way back in 1932. And then you had the movies like House of Wax in 1953, where the Spern Museum creator, played by Vincent Price, was killing people and then making them into wax sculptures. That was kind of like your proto slasher movie. Also, Peeping Tom from 1960, where the killer had like a film, like a Super 8 kind of film, or like a film can, and he would film his victims dying, and he had this knife at the end of the tripod that he would stab them with. And then there was a mirror on the camera so they could watch themselves die too. That was super, super influential, but also kind of like a banned movie at the time because it was so perverse considering in 1960. Psycho from 1960 is also iconic proto slasher where, we all know how amazing that movie is, especially with the score, and the shower scene lives on. And that movie, even when you haven't even, it's like kind of like Jaws. You may have not even seen the movie, but you know what it's about.
You know exactly that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know that scene. And Neil,
Shut your whore mouth. Shut your whore mouth.
October 11th, 1974.
No, Eric, no.
2 movies.
No, one.
Came out.
One movie came out.
That influenced the slasher genre.
One movie came out. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What a great slasher horror movie that was. There's there's just the one.
Yeah. Black Christmas also came out that same day.
Fuck you, Eric.
I
hate that movie. That's the Steven Seagal of slasher movies. I hate it.
So, but even in, the other countries were having their own kind of slasher, proto slashers like giallo movies, which I love. May not be our greatest shared love with you and David, but there was,
with the listeners apparently,
or with the listeners too. Yes, but Mario Bava did a movie called The Girl Who Knew Too Much in 1963, and then he did Blood and Black Lace in 1964, which is really worth seeing if you have not seen it. It's really vividly colored, and it's a bunch of models getting knocked off by a unknown killer with black gloves, and it just kind of set up what the giallo movie and later the slasher movie would be. Dario Argento did The Bird with the Crystal Plumage.
It's so sad because when your wife texts me and says, I'm going to get Eric some of those killer gloves, what do they look like? And we're sitting there texting back and forth trying to pick out the perfect slasher gloves from a fucked up Italian horror movie for you.
Yes, the killer gloves from giallo movies are the black gloves with the zipper on the back of them. Little, yes, they're amazing. I have a pair. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Jamie.
I hope you know how much both of us care that she went through the effort and I was willing to have that discussion about that piece of shit movie. Okay.
Yeah, but that's kind of a trope in all of Dario Argento movies, Black Glove Killer. The Bird with the Crystal Plumage is actually worth seeing. It's got a weird twist where the audio of the murder is being recorded, and then there's always a mystery component where there's a reporter or an American or somebody who's visiting Italy who has to solve this murder. That's the same thing with the Deep Red. There's Four Flies on Grey Velvet. All these different giallo movies. I could go on forever about giallo movies because I'm a nerd. But
that's what Italian people eat when they're in the hospital.
Giallo.
They have the giallo.
Lemon giallo.
Lemon giallo. They have the cherry giallo.
So for us in America, the golden age of slasher movies was from 1978 to 1984. After 84, then things got a little bit more elaborate with the Freddy Kruegers and things like that. But your basic slasher movie was from 78 to 84. And of course, you got to give it up to Halloween, which was the kind of the the greatest example of style and what a slasher movie could be. And that movie kind of put in the seed in everybody. Hey, we can take a small budget and make millions of dollars if we have teenagers getting killed in elaborate ways by a masked killer.
So good, though.
Yeah. I've watched it again recently, and it still fucking holds up. It's just that the scenes where Michael Myers is just driving around and stalking the kids and stalking, Laurie Strode and her friends and stuff. And the one that always gets me, the scariest part of that movie that still scares me, is when she's in her bedroom and she sees him standing in the middle of the laundry, like the sheets that are drying outside. And then she goes back and he's gone. But it's just to know that you're going to look outside and then somebody's watching you. You can see them watching you from outside. That's just a scary.
That scene stuck in my subconscious because that was like a recurring bad dream I had as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember Creepshow, the monster in the box that you would put somebody like near it and it would open up and that monster would literally devour them whole.
Yeah.
So for me, that fucked with me as a kid. Mm-hmm. That scene I had. Rarely would they give me bad dreams. That one I kept dreaming about. It kept coming back to me. I'd wake up in a panic. But for me, it was always, I would look out, I would see the monster, and I knew that, okay, as long as he doesn't see me, I'm cool. And it would turn its head around real quick and spot me. And then I'm like, I'm dead. It's going to come at me. There's nothing I can do now. I'm dead. Mm-hmm. And then I'd wake up just like breathing heavy. So, okay, no one's going to understand this. I'm just going to sit here and shake underneath the sheets and try to deal with whatever I've got going on inside my head that's fucking with me like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The same thing for me with Michael Myers as a kid. He was just so iconic and scary. I used to have dreams about him too, where, I knew that he was coming after me. And for some reason I could see where he was and in relation to where I was. And he would just keep getting closer and closer until I would wake up going, shit, I'm screwed. That feeling of that. So for me, the two greatest years for slashers are 1980 and 81. And we can read off a list of the slashers from 80. And it is a no pun intended, murderer's row of horror movies. From, Alligator, which we've done an episode on, Altered States, which we've got to do an episode on soon. The Boogeyman, Cannibal Apocalypse, Cannibal Holocaust. This is when the Italian cannibal cycle was going on in the deep. The Changeling, that's a scary as hell ghost story. George C. Scott, that's a good one. The Children. I've always wanted to see that one. I haven't seen that one where they're like these, we have to kill these kids. Christmas Evil, City of the Living Dead. That's a good one. Lucio Fulci was very busy.
What about Death Ship?
Death Ship. Oh, I remember that video cover, but I've never seen it.
I remember that one. That one was so good.
Don't Answer the Phone. Don't Go in the House. Eaten Alive. Erotic Nights of the Living Dead. Guess what country that's from?
I'm going to guess Italy.
Yes, you're correct. Okay. Fade to Black was another slasher movie that was scary to me. And I have never seen it. I've only seen pieces of it, but I remember the preview scared the shit out of me because it was a guy putting on the makeup in the mirror. That kind of makeup where he's kind of like half normal, half like painted face white with black under his eyes and stuff like that. That trailer scared the shit out of me. The Fog, and of course Friday the 13th, which came out in 1980. That is kind of one of the just great examples of the slasher movie. We've done an episode of that one. He Knows You're Alone. Hell of the Living Dead. That movie is funny as hell. We've got to watch it someday. It's also known as Virus, but it is just an ineptly made zombie movie by Bruno Mattei. The House at the Edge of the Park, Ruggero Deodato. Italy was just going like crazy that year. Inferno, which is a Dario Argento, second of the Three Mothers trilogy with Suspiria and Inferno. Motel Hell, which is another classic slasher movie, which I saw way too young I just remember the scariest part is when they had the people who stayed at the hotel. They would cut their tongues or something, or damage their voice boxes, and they would bury them neck deep into the soil, so they would soften up, and they would put bags over their heads. But they would also hypnotize them. You ever see that one? It's just so weird. That always scared the shit out of me. Night of the Demon, which is the Bigfoot movie with a famous sleeping bag kill, where he's just swinging the guy around.
Just over and over, just helicopters that guy.
Prom Night, which is one of my favorite slasher movies. That it's fun. Terror Train, also big year for Jamie Lee Curtis.
How about Maniac?
Oh yeah, Maniac. That is a tough one, and which I have only ever seen once, but it's a tough watch. Brutal movie. I warned you not to go out tonight. And it's a guy holding that woman's head, and it's scary. Prom Night.
You skipped right over El Retorno del Hombre Lobo.
The Other Hell, Toxic Zombies, The Unseen, The Watcher in the Woods. That was a scary one as a kid. That was I think it was a Disney movie. A little scary. Without Warning, which is a weird alien movie, and then Zombie Holocaust. So
did we mention The Shining?
Yes.
Okay.
The Shining, which we have tried to do episode on, but for something it thwarts us to do an episode on The Shining. Something happens where the recording is bad, or we couldn't make it together, or something is just. Eventually, we'll do that movie. But
I would be more than happy to watch it again.
Yes, me too. It's a classic. But 80 and 81. 81 is like what I've said. We've done so many episodes from 81. That was also a huge slasher movie. Allison's Birthday, a slasher. American Werewolf in London, which we've done an episode on. The Beyond, which we've done an episode on. The Boogans, which we have not done an episode on, but I just remember that trailer, The Boogans. And they just look like cockroaches or something. It's weird. The Burning, we've done an episode on.
Brings about a certain sensation.
Yes. Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. It was a made-for-TV one. That was pretty weird. That was a scary one back from the day for a TV movie, where just the guy he's a scarecrow, and he got that bag over his head, and you find out that he's alive underneath it, and he gets revenge on everybody. Dead and Buried is really good. Deadly Blessing by Wes Craven was a scary one. I remember my dad took my sister and I to see Deadly Blessing, and it scared the shit out of me, because it's like these three girls are staying in a ranch or farmhouse. And there's this weird like religious cult, like they're sort of like Amish, but not really. And Ernest Borgnine is the head of and they keep talking about the incubus. The incubus is coming, and it scared me as a kid. I probably isn't as scary now, but a very young Sharon Stone is in that one. Don't Go in the Woods, Don't Go Near the Park. So there's lots of the Don't Go movies. Evil Dead, the original one. Evil Speak is a movie that we absolutely have to do. It's Clint Howard at a military school being bullied, and he takes on his bullies using his Apple IIc computer to summon the devil.
We've talked about this one before, and I am trying to remember this.
There's another one called Fear No Evil that freaked me out as a kid. It came out in 81, and it was about this 17-year-old student realizing that he's the Antichrist, and he like kills a couple of his classmate bullies in the gym with a basketball. It's really weird, and it's got really like homoerotic subtext and stuff going on, but it's a weird one. I don't know if I can find that one streaming, but it is really weird. Slashers, Final Exam, Friday the 13th Part 2, The Fun House, we just did an episode on that.
Yeah.
Galaxy of Terror, we need to do one. Ghost Story, that was a scary one as a kid. The Peter Straub.
I'm trying to think of covers in my head. It was the one with the guy's got his mouth wide open, and there's like the sharp shish kebab thing, like
Happy Birthday to Me. Yes.
Happy Birthday to Me.
Yes, if you look at that, there it is. Yep, Happy Birthday to Me. That's a slasher we haven't done yet. We should probably do. That one I remember, but also there's a kill in that one where the guy's getting ready to get on his motorcycle, and the killer wraps his scarf around the tire, the spokes of his motorcycle, and he kills him that way.
Yeah, but I I remember that because it had the girl from Little House on the Prairie.
Yes. Melissa Sue Anderson.
Little off brand
Yeah.
for what she was known for, but good for her reaching out, trying new things.
Another movie that my dad took us to that scared that shit out of me was The Hand. It's directed by Oliver Stone, and Michael Caine plays a guy who gets his hand cut off, and the hand haunts him and kills people and stuff like that. That was a weird one.
Okay.
Hell Night, which just did an episode on just recently. The House by the Cemetery, which is hilarious. We should watch that one. It is another Lucio Fulci movie. Inseminoid, which is exactly as it sounds, where these aliens inseminate women in a crazy, awful, exploitative movie. Miss 45 is a rape and revenge movie by Abel Ferreira. I remember seeing that way too young on Showtime. My sister and I were like, hey, let's watch this movie. And I'm just like, why is this traumatizing me? Should not have seen that one. My Bloody Valentine is amazing. We haven't done that one yet. We need to. Omen 3, The Final Conflict. We did an episode on. Amazing. I love that one. The Nazarene!
We were both going for it.
The Nazarene! Piranha 2, The Spawning, which was directed by James Cameron. Porno Holocaust. Which country did that one come from?
I'm going to guess Italy.
You're correct. Bruno Mattei. All right. Possession is one of my all-time favorite horror movies, which I finally just got into just in the past 2 years. Finally watched. Fucking amazing. Really, really good movie with Isabella Gianni and Sam Neill. It's just like the worst breakup movie you've ever seen in your entire life. Just really, really crazy. The Prowler, we just did an episode on that one. Lots of good kills in that. Scanners, we've done an episode on. So 81 was just killer movies, man. Tons and tons of good stuff. I really think it's one of the best years for horror movies of all. I think probably because my brain was really forming in those years, and I just remember being traumatized.
Yeah, it formed all right in some very specific ways, but I mean, we turned out okay.
Yeah, we turned out fine. We're productive members of society.
Yes, of course.
All right, so let's talk about slasher movie tropes a little bit. And I wrote some of the ones that stick out in my mind. Feel free to add any if you can think of some. The Final Girl, that one is always like the number one. You always have to have your final girl at the end of the movie, unless you're Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, then you have the final boy. Or The Burning, where you're Ratner. I keep seeing Brett Ratner. The hell was the guy from Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Was the final guy in that one?
Judd, you talk about? Oh God, Judd. What the fuck?
I just remember him. He played the rat in the Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah.
His weenie whistle. The only words that came to my mind were Judd Nelson, and that is completely incorrect.
So the killer with a grudge is our second trope, because most of these were kind of mysteries, and you either had to find out who the killer was and then what their motivation was at the end of the movie.
Freaking Judge Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold. No. That was her older brother in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Not
Brett.
Sean.
Oh,
we're not talking about Sean Penn.
No. Hold on. The Burning. So, Brian Becker. He played Mark Ratner in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But he was a pervy guy in The Burning who was always like spying on the girls in the showers, and they're busting him and stuff like that. And for some reason, they made him like one of the last guys alive in the movie, and you want him to die because he was such a perv. But for some reason, he survived. Killer with a Grudge is like my second trope, where we know that it's somehow a killer who has either been wronged in some way. See Prom Night, see Friday the 13th, see The Burning. All these movies have like a killer that is trying to get back at somebody. And then number 3, sex equals death. That is, one of the But I did watch a thing about horror movie tropes, and it's not necessarily sex that equals death. It's usually nudity equals equals death. If
Yeah,
you're willing to get naked in
soon
the
as
movie,
you see some nakedness, you're getting off.
yeah, you're out. So Neil's
Which is-
favorite.
You know what's funny though is when you talk to people about that, especially people that like movies or horror movies, and it's usually guys. Like, well, it represents sort of like being just stripped of everything and being so vulnerable. You're at your most vulnerable state. I said, or you show titties because guys that watch these like to see titties, and then you kill them because you've got some weird incel shit going on. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think it's you're trying to put butts in the seats, and a lot, like you said, primarily these are a lot of young guys watching these movies, and you've got to have hey, let's go skinny dipping or something, scene in every one of these. And then unless you're talking about Slumber Party Massacre, which was directed by a woman, and they had trying to put that subtext about female vulnerability and other things in it, that. But for some reason, Slumber Party Massacre has more boobs than the average horror movie.
She knows what she likes. All right,
Yeah.
Number five.
Oh, you're skipping 4.
No, I'm
which
not.
is your favorite.
No, I'm not. Number 5. Going to
Killer
number 5.
POV, which is Neil's favorite stylistic choice.
It's just such a crappy way to make a movie.
Yeah.
It's such a crappy way to make a movie. As soon as you go POV, you have lost me completely. Lost me completely.
Number 5 is creative kills. You got to have somebody like Tom Savini working for you to try to get the most creative kills as possible. Some of the great ones, Friday the 13th, while not as serious and fun to me, or serious to me, is enjoyable as some of the Halloween movies, is more fun with the kills. Jason is just, he's a maestro, and the camp is his canvas, and the teenagers are his brushes in the movie. So, and you got to have a setting. Summer camp, it's either a holiday or it's at a school or a school dance or a high school reunion, or just your holiday ones, my Bloody Valentine, or like the Prowler, like a reunion dance, prom night, of course. And then you got to have some sort of setting where everybody meets up at the end is your theme. Masked Killer, that's definitely one. Clueless Victims.
Well, it's mass killer, as long as it's not, it doesn't end like a Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm going to get you and those kids, and I could have gotten away with it.
It's Farmer Jim. Yeah. Yep.
But so, okay, 8, you've got Clueless Victims, but they're so, let's expand Clueless Victims a little bit. So you've got the Clueless Victims, and then you have the people, not just clueless, but I'm going to call them the deniers, that are just unwilling to accept it because of the shock.
Yeah.
And then on the other end of that, you have the just horrifically Dunning-Kruger brave jackasses that are going to like, hey, I know it's super dark out there and that the killer has night vision and a high-powered rifle, and we last saw him in a hunting stand waiting for us with field cameras all over the place. But you know what? I think I can take him out because I found a really good sharp stick. Those people
summarily hit with a spear gun through the head.
Yes.
Bolt through the head. Yeah. One thing I love is the one last scare, of course, made famous in Carrie, with the hands popping out of under the grave, and then Jason jumping out of the water, which they beat to death in the Friday the 13th series with Jason's mom jumping out of the water, or there's certain things like that. But you got to have that one last scare where the killer, you think he's dead, and he pops up, and you got to kill him one more time.
I can honestly say I'm more shocked at movies like this when they just end.
Yeah.
Because I do like these movies. These are frozen pizza movies. This is, it's not a great meal, but it will still satisfy you and it will hit all the buttons. These are frozen pizza. But when you watch and you're like, all right, here comes the final. Oh, fuck. There it was. Could have just ended it and been such a great movie without that particular trope.
Well, it's funny because we watched a lot of slashers over the last month, and it's that stuff that is supposed to be suspenseful that turns not suspenseful because they rely on it too much. Like like the one last scare, or hey, let's go look around in the woods or run around in the woods, and they just milk it for and it's not scary at all. It's just like they're trying
It's
to
like
pad
the
the time out.
prowler. They're standing there staring at each other with the dumbass looks on each other's faces,
Mhm.
and then blast the dude with the shotgun. You're just like, and the
Or in
whole
Hell
time we're
Night, they were
watching.
running around. Oh my god!
No, my wife is every time that happens, my wife is like, walk up, double tap, just be done with this.
Yes, exactly. Number 10, no adult supervision. Parents are out of town, or we're out of summer camp, or we're somewhere where our parents are gone, or the authority figures are completely inept and they're getting killed easily, like the security guard in Halloween 2, or the sheriff in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Every camp counselor ever.
Yeah, these people are screwing around, not paying attention, and they're getting killed left and right. Mutant or giant waterhead. Neil added that. Please expound on that.
Well, you rarely in these movies do you have just, now, do you have just like a dude with a grudge? It became almost like this is an unstoppable freak of nature.
Yeah.
Something like you couldn't have a physical deformity and just be like, you know what, this is the hand I was dealt. I'm going to try to make the best of my life. I'm going to maybe take some programs that they've got available for me, and I'm going to find a job where I can fit in and try to contribute to society. You're like, you know what? Fuck all those kids in the woods. They're dead. I'm going to kill every single one of them.
So Jason's not working at McDonald's. Gunther from Funhouse, he's not flipping burgers or
with a weird half split seam down his face.
Drooling like crazy. So yeah, he's not doing that. Or the freaky brothers in Hell Night. Podcast hosts. Yeah, that's in Halloween 2018. Those podcast hosts get killed. Isn't in Tusk the main protagonist who gets turned into the walrus, the podcast host as well?
Yes,
podcast hosts are now the villains.
Well, and let's put that in it's here. I'm going to put this in its proper context.
Oh, nerds, yes.
Nerds, you've always got the one nerdy guy who knows something about it or understands something about it or realizes how dire the situation is.
Our character tropes. You're typing. Yes. So we're moving to character tropes, and Neil, we'll start with one. Virginal girl.
I just typed that in. You wanted to talk about it. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's go.
Yes. So we're talking about character tropes, not just movie tropes and plots and things like that. Let's talk about the characters. Virginal girl is usually your final girl. Laurie Strode was the iconic, set the example for that, and she did the same character in Terror Train and Prom Night. She's the one who we care about. And then here are the other people are usually your victims. You got the jock, your jock boyfriend, the one like Neil described. He thinks he can take on the monster or the killer or whatever, and he summarily gets put out of his misery. Random flask guy, he's also the jock. He's some guy. Hey, let's like in the Fun House where he's trying to get his girlfriend to drink or get her to have sex with him, and putting all that pressure on her and stuff, and then he eventually dies. The stoner is also another trope. You got a guy who's like practically your Cheech and Chong stand-in in Friday the 13th Part 3, or you're just hey man, let's go party, and they have a little bag and they're eating. They get pulled over by the cops and they're eating the pot, and they're like, "Oh man, I lost my stuff." And
they always got to hold it up and shake it so you can. Shaking it activates the marijuanas. It activates the effects.
You got the Joker, just like Shelley is the best example of that I can think of in Friday the 13th Part 3. He's the one who's like, hey man, he's pretending to have like an axe in his head and funny masks, and he's the one who's trying to get the girl out of his league to like him, and he's a sad sack, and then he gets killed. Or the stupid guy in Friday the 13th Part 7, he's like telling her about his stories and Star Mummy or whatever and something like that, and then the girl kind of tries to sleep with him and then turns him down and he gets killed. Or the stupid wizard master guy in the wizard master guy in Dream Warriors. I'm the wizard master. Gets killed easy, There's always the bitch who's like, for some reason, just mean out of for no reason to our final girl. Oh, she's
What about the whole not okay? So character tropes, but I was kind of thinking about like the slasher movie tropes, how they try to pull in something that is a little bit like edgy or perhaps being looked at by society, like Dungeons and Dragons, or like the Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
It's like Russian guys being the bad guys in 80 horror movies, and then moving on to anyone from the Middle East.
Yeah, we'll think about Crispin Glover in Friday the 13th Part 4. Where's the corkscrew? And he gets corkscrew through his hand. There's always the slutty girl gets killed, takes a shower, goes skinny dipping, does something that gets into trouble. And then there's the bland friend who is the friend of the final girl who's like, oh, you can do it or whatever, and then she gets killed. See the girl with asthma in A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. Your bland friend. And then there's the old man Doom kind of guy. Don't go back to Crystal Lake. You're going to die there.
You don't know what happens in these woods once it gets dark.
Yeah. Clueless cops. They're always the people who are like, pulling the group of kids over at the beginning of the movie. Hey, does anybody have any pot in here? Or where are you guys from? And, then he inevitably gets the claw end of a hammer through the back of the head from the killer at some point.
What would that be enough to take you out though, or would that just cause you to kind of your eyes to roll up and then you walked with a weird gait for the rest of your life?
Yeah. There's a lot of like things that happen in slasher movies where they're probably not dead. They're probably fucked up. Like the claw end of a hammer in the back of your head. I don't know if that'll kill you, but yeah, you're feeding squirrels for the rest of your life in a park somewhere. Yeah, the nerd, also podcast hosts are kind of the same way. He's the Dungeons and Dragons guy. He's the kid who, has books with him, or he's desperately trying to hit on the hot girl, and then he gets killed. And I should have probably put that in there. Ethnic friend. It's either like the for diversity's sake, black guy who gets killed, or black girlfriend who gets killed, or
I would like to point out
Latina friend.
I would like to point out that if we were in a horror movie situation, it was nice knowing you.
Yeah, I know. I play the ethnic. I'll be the ethnic victim, like the spunky Asian friend, or sassy black friend, or like Spider in Friday the 13th Part 5. African American punk guy, I guess, who's has diarrhea from eating enchiladas and gets killed by Jason.
Damn enchiladas!
Damn enchiladas! So, yeah, I included some of my favorite VHS covers of the era, and Terror Train always used to scare me as a kid because it's got the person with the mask on with the big mustache and a knife. That one always kind of freaked me out. A Slumber Party Massacre, which includes lots of cleavage and a phallic drill. So you know what you're going to get with with Slumber Party Massacre. Halloween 2 always scared me because it's the pumpkin with the skull sticking out of it. That was always scary to me as a kid. And I remember that poster at the Tota Theater in Farmington, New Mexico, and we would drive by and I would see that skull poster for like a week or two. I'm like, oh my God, I want to see this movie. But also was really scared to see that movie. But Halloween 2. Maniac was also
Maniac. Yeah.
Very memorable. And there's a link to here from indieground.net, the best VHS horror covers, and there's quite a few in there that are very, very memorable. I love, and that was part of the best part of walking through the horror section is looking at the covers. Chopping Mall was always fun. It was totally false advertising. There's this metal hand holding a shopping bag with like eyeballs and ears and feet and stuff sticking out of it.
I know it was after, but like the one for the stuff when the face is melting.
Yeah. The Stuff is a good one. The guy's like, and the white. Yeah, that's a good one. Terror Vision had that weird freaky monster on the back of it. The Wraith, which is not a good movie, but I always thought that was kind of a cool cover.
You said with the Wraith, the one with Sheen in it.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen and Sherilyn Fenn.
Ew.
The Gate 2, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. House was a memorable one with that hand, with no body, just
with nobody just getting ready to ring the doorbell.
Yeah, ding dong, you're dead. Shocker. Supernaturals. I never have ever seen this movie, but I certainly remember the VHS cover. Evil Speak, which we've talked about already. Killbots was also the alternate name for a shopping mall in Germany. They Live, that always had a really cool cover. Pumpkinhead, great cover. Demonoid. Hellraiser, that is the cover that sold me on it immediately. That picture of Pinhead holding the lament configuration with the chains in the background. The American version had, have seen the future of horror. His name is Clive Barker. Stephen King quote.
Stephen King, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, holy shit.
Did you listen to the Doug Bradley episode of
No, I haven't had a chance yet. I've seen snippets of it, some clips of it on the
when he does like a Scouse Pinhead. That's the great thing. Your suffering's going to be legendary.
Yeah, so many great horror movie covers. Fright Night, of course, had a great cover. It's just that was one of the reasons that hooked you. There could be some shitty movie, but if it had a good cover, you would rent it.
That was the hook. That was what brought you in, because you're obviously, some of these are never going to make it to movie theaters anywhere near us. So you had to have something salacious on the cover to like even draw you in.
Yeah, totally. All right. I have 2 top 10 lists. Let's go with best slasher movie kills. My personal list.
Completely agree on the top. That was when you. I don't know if you sent. I don't know if you sent that in the chat. But as soon as I saw that, this is what I thought of, and when I opened up the notes, I'm like, "Your thoughts to my thoughts."
So, Liquid Nitrogen face in Jason X is always a great one, where he takes the girl, puts her in the liquid nitrogen, and then breaks her face against the countertop. That one was just it was a crazy one. The hammer to the head in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where the guy he's wandering around, gets into the house, and then Leatherface, all of a sudden you see him and hits him in the head. The guy's having a seizure, and then he pulls him in and slams that steel door. That was just that's one of my favorite kills and moments in a horror movie. Number 8, the garage door in Scream, where poor Tatum gets crushed in the garage door. Always thought that was a funny one. Number 7, Jason punches a dude's head off in Jason Takes Manhattan. Amazing. Falls off the side of the building into the trash can.
Great one. He shoves the dude into the barrel.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Pickaxe through the chin in My Bloody Valentine. That looks so real. You're not sure how they did that, but like pickaxe through his chin and his eyes poking out and stuff. Great one. Shower scene in Psycho is number 5, because that's just iconic. That's the one that like I said, is in the subconscious of everybody, even though they may have not even seen the movie. I love the raft scene in The Burning, where the kids are trying to get back to camp, and they see this they're on the little raft, and then they see this green kayak, and then the killer's in it, and he's like cutting fingers off and poking people in the neck, and it's just a big bloodbath. That was probably the best part of the entire movie. I love number 3, the face smash eyeball pop in Friday the 13th Part 3, where he just grabs the guy's head and squeezes it, and it's the 3D fake eyeball popping out. Love that one, just for its cheesiness. Michael Myers going ham on firefighters and Halloween Kills. That's got to be one of my favorite kill scenes, because he's just, they're trying to put the fire out, and then he's at the door, and he's just taking firefighters out left and right. Just, it's one of my favorites. It's the newest one on the list, but it's way up there.
Yeah.
And number 1,
and they're firefighters, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And number 1, incomplete. There's some on here that I completely agree with, but number 1 is 100%. It's 100% my number 1.
Which one is that one?
Jason, picking the guy up in the sleeping bag and smacking the shit out of him against the tree.
Yes, because the girl's like in the sleeping bag, and she's like waiting for her boyfriend to come back in, and then she's like, "What are you waiting for?" And then he slices through the tent, grabs her, and just bam.
And she's just kicking around and stuff. And he's like, "Screw this," and just hauls it and flaps it right into the tree.
Funny thing is that it was edited down. Originally, it was like him smashing the sleeping bag against a tree like 4 or 5 times, but I think it's better the way it is now because it's just one concise, powerful smack against the tree. And I think that is probably the more fun version of it. It's just, he's that powerful that he can just smack you once against a tree and you're dead.
Yeah.
Anything I've missed? Anything that you think of that pops in your mind that
no, as far as slasher movies?
Yeah.
No, that's it. It's not a kill, but it's when he takes the Michael Myers takes the coat hanger to the eye.
Oh yeah.
That one. But yeah, I'd say the raft scene in The Burning, 100%. The shower scene in Psycho, I would have put that up higher, just because of it set a standard for these types of movies. The garage door in Scream, and the liquid nitrogen face, the just freezing it and then smashing it. Yeah, the others would not have even popped into my head, but you put them there, so I can picture those exact scenes. But the sleeping bag takes it every time. Yeah,
it's always been my favorite since I saw it on VHS and back in 1987. I'm like, that is an awesome kill. So, all right, so this is my as of September 23rd, 2025 top 10 slasher movie list. It could change tomorrow, but as of the time though, as of this podcast, these are the top 10 slasher movies. So, number 10, A Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know. People call it a slasher movie. I consider it a slasher movie, but it's more supernatural to me. But Freddy is an icon, so you got to include him there. And that is number 10. Number 9, Prom Night. I love that movie just because it is it's made in 1980, but it's got the 70s vibe to it. There's disco dancing, people getting their heads rolling off.
Yeah, don't forget Jamie Lee Curtis's dance routine for that one.
Yes, Jamie Lee Curtis's dance routine. Just everybody who's like 18, but they look like they're 40 because they're drinking and smoking so much. And there's just something fun about it. And what I think I like the most is the beginning of the movie where the kids are teasing each other and the little girl falls off the roof. So let's go a little quicker because we're already at 107. Thanksgiving is quickly number 8. I love that movie. Really, really good. I just have so many gory kills. Number 7, Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. I consider them one movie because they dovetail right so much into each other. I like Halloween Ends, but most people don't, so I didn't include it. But 2018 and Halloween Kills. Scream 4, I just watched it. I think it's probably one of the best next to the original. Sleepaway Camp, just for the twist ending and the campiness of that movie. And just how mean everybody is. It's just something about it that I love. Hits that summer camp slasher. Texas Chainsaw. It's iconic. It's one of those movies that makes you feel like you're in a nightmare. It's just the feeling is just so gritty and gross and dirty. Just a atmosphere to the hilt. Scream, the original, is number 3 because it changed the game. I remember seeing that in the theater and people were freaking out. Is one of the more fun theater experiences I saw way back in 96. Friday the 13th Part 2 is my favorite Friday the 13th movie because Sackhead Jason is my favorite Jason. It's got the best camp people, the most fun. Jenny is the best final girl, and it's just the most fun Friday the 13th in my opinion. But number 1 is Halloween, the original.
Gotta be.
Can't. It's got to be number 1. It's just that good. Anyway, that was our special slasher movie episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Send us an email if you guys know about your favorite slasher movie or the movies that shaped you to be the horror fan you are. rvspodcast222@gmail.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And buymeacoffee.com if you want to contribute to the cause. And thanks so much for listening. And we appreciate everybody who for coming along with us. So have a good week.
Yeah. Any of our fellow Gen Xers realize why we don't need therapy. We had these films. We worked
Absolutely.
it out.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good week.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.